family.
And I have a new place that we can go.
In Palm Beach?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow, that place is full of poverty. So that's good. That's good to know.
Palm Beach? What are you talking about?
Like she's like, what? Like my place is not full of
I'll
poverty.
text you so you won't know where we're going.
Don't really want to know. You know, I ain't trying to like,
definitely. Definitely. Let me know. Let me know. Let's go.
If I'm ever in Palm Beach, it's a mistake. That means I stop for gas.
Well, don't worry, it won't be Red Lobster or Olive Garden like you guys spoke about on your last podcast.
Oh yeah, we were talking about that. Hey.
you got what's that joke? You're not gonna Atlanta or whatever me to death. Like, you're
not gonna Miami me to death.
I'm telling you.
People like Atlanta or Miami me to death. Like,
you're not gonna land in Miami. That's such a true statement.
It's true.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm not gonna lie. When I meet someone, and this is when I was dating proactively, when I meet someone, they're like, yeah, I'm going to Miami for vacation. I'm like, bruh, basic.
Where are you going?
Hey, one of my buddies says, I'm going to Orlando for vacation. Like, you're a grown man. You're 35, no kids. What are you doing in Orlando? What exactly are you doing in Orlando?
Orlando do got some, but it's
what are you doing in Orlando as a single
tourist stuff? Oh, single guy. Oh,
single 35-year-old.
It's kids stuff.
It's weird. Like,
unless he like theme parks, I'll say that.
I don't know. So, yeah, see, she pulled back in the weirdness. It's like a grown man at a theme park by himself. It's weird.
Oh, by yourself. Oh, yeah.
Oh, unless he's gay. Like the entire time he's been gay. I think he might be gay.
I mean, I know a guy that loves the theme parks, but he wouldn't tell anyone he's going to the theme park. Once he got married, he used it as an excuse. He's like,
and that's great. Yeah, that's cool.
You know, we go as a family,
guy,
and I'm looking
single
like,
guy going there, you kind of look kind of weird, especially if you have like kids around you, like this one single guy like walking around.
That you know what? Why would you go to the theme park by yourself? Because you're in line for like 80% of the 70% of the time. You need someone to talk to. What you gonna do?
Be a creeper.
But you know what? I think that even as a man, even as a grown man going, I think it's one of those things where you didn't get a chance to do it as a kid.
Okay.
So it's like, it's really the kid in you.
Okay.
That
and that's fair. I'm not mad if he did, like, but he
I'm not judging, but I am judging.
It's just the way that he said it. It's like I'm going to Orlando for my birthday. I'm like, and you're like, give me and what exactly? Yeah, I have some. She's like, I have some hotel credits, so if I'm gonna use it in Orlando, I'm like, you could use it in Miami too. You could use it just about anywhere. So why Orlando? Like,
is he from? He's not from Orlando.
He's from Miami. It's weird. It's just weird.
Honestly, I don't go to Orlando unless it is a specific thing. Next month, I'll be traveling to Orlando to go to Ari Lennox concert at Hard Rock.
Oh,
yes, I'm super excited.
That should be good.
I don't know.
Or I go to like Fort Lauderdale, Miami, whatever. Like the Dave Chappelle concert I went to last year. So I always go.
Dave Chappelle's good.
It was really so good. It was really so good. And Busta Rhymes came out. I seen DJ Khaled and Fat Joe. Like I wasn't too far from them actually. So I seen them sitting down. It was a really good show. Anywho, but these certain places, like these tourist area, if it's not something specifically I'm going to, I'm not going. It makes no sense. Like I really feel like, honestly, they come to me, oh, let's go to Miami. So that's some basic ass shit.
It's just Miami. It's just so much you can do.
Yeah.
And my buddy's like, I'm gonna go to New York. I'm like, how many times are you gonna go to New York in a lifetime?
That's why I was telling you, LG. And honestly, if my partner don't have the availability to share, I'm just gonna do it myself. I still want to do a road trip, either a road trip or fly into like not Kansas, Tennessee, Nashville area and stuff like that. Like I want to go to Wyoming. I really want to say I want to go to Idaho because there's the middle part of the U.S. I don't know anything about. And I would love I know a lot about the West Coast because I've been to San Diego and all these other places, but I've never been to like the middle of America. I'm like, I'm so ignorant when it comes to these places. Like, let me check it out. I want to go to Detroit.
We're weird.
I want to go to a lot of places.
Because I think a lot of people just go to a lot of people actually stay in the same city that they were born in and die there. Mm-hmm. Or go maybe a city or two over.
Right.
Some people, because let's say Miami, they go to Orlando, that makes sense to them. But there's not a lot of people that travel multi-state. And if they do, they're, it's Florida, New York, and maybe Georgia. That combination.
Yeah.
but there's nobody else that do a lot of this. They don't have as much range. So when I get excited about traveling and seeing what is known as the end of the world, there's a hotel at the end of the world, which is a joke about it because it's all the way at the bottom tip of Argentina.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to go. Like I'm weird that I'm not a guy. I'm like, you know what? That sounds interesting. I want to go see the end of the world, the last post office. I want to see these places, but I'm in the minority of people that live this kind of way in the world, and I'm learning that.
I'll play devil's advocate because I'm a parent, single parent, and I haven't had an opportunity to travel, but I want to travel. Maybe being a financial guru as you are, maybe teach people how to prioritize their spending in some type of way so they can plan for the big trips, because Georgia is like you can stay with a family or it's right up the street. Or New York is like just a flight and it's quick. And it may not be that they don't want to go to these different places. It's like they're doing too much spending on the day-to-day meals. They're instead of cooking at home. So it's those little habits that's delaying your growth in some type of way. So like I told my girls just the other day, we're wasteful. We're wasting too much. We're spending this, that, and the other on Uber Eats instead of eating at home and then going to a nice restaurant. Yeah. So you accumulate the $30 here, $50 there, instead of just spending $200 on an experience. So that may be something that you can speak about.
I say start small too. It doesn't necessarily have to be the next city over and stuff like that. I literally know parents with children and they don't even know anything outside their neighborhood or outside the school district. You get what I'm saying?
I think it comes more not necessarily the money, because I could talk about the money all day, and that could be, that's legit. Like some people don't have extra funds, but it's also a desire too. So if you don't really want to go, any, other places, that's just an innate thing. You can't recreate that. There's people that's making $100,000 and they still haven't left the city or the state, or they hit the tri-state area, that kind of scenario. Like it's not the money. It just comes down to the person and what the person wants to see. For parents that don't have a lot of money, staycations in the city, a lot of times people don't even know different, monuments in their city or like points of interest, so on and so forth. They don't even get into that. So that's cool too. But if you're a parent, there's always to Atlanta's point, you get on the car, which is the cheapest way to do it as a family, and you drive. And some people don't.
Palm Beach have a train.
Oh, hey,
I'm just saying we do have a train.
You're finally coming up with a train. You can drive. You could drive to different other cities or even the state over. For example, New York. New York is not too far from Canada, literally. It's an 8-hour drive. The same trip that we used to do from Miami to Tallahassee for school, for college.
Yeah, 8 hours.
It's 8 hours. You hit
8 hours.
You sit in the thing, you drive. You barely. Sometimes you're not even the one driving. So you're like, oh, are we there yet? You're that person. So in the end of the day, it's not as complex as we make it out to be. So part of it, we have to unravel that. First, we got to say, hey, do you want to go? If you want to go, it's a yes or no scenario. Right? The money is the money, and whatever it is, that's fine. But is it yes or no? And second, how do we get there?
True.
How do we get there? Is it flying? Is it driving? Sometimes it's even cheaper to actually fly to Europe than it is to drive across the state
US,
the US. Yeah. The hotels in the US are like damn near $200 a night in some places. Some hotels in like Brazil, $60, $70 a night. You can literally do a cheaper scenario if you kind of work the math differently. Like Disney, for a family of 4, you could easily end up paying a good $3,000, if not
I'm
4.
Telling you,
it's an easy $4,000. But
and they want to eat also.
You could pull that sucker by flying to Mexico. You could pull that sucker by flying to whatever it is that's cheaper flight. Even going to Europe. You're like when you get to Europe and then you get on the train. There's part of it we have to unravel, but we have to start at the very beginning and say, do you even want to go?
That's true.
If you don't want to go, then it's cool. And I don't have a problem with people that don't want to travel at all, because not everybody has the same drive for that. Like some people just love to dance. Some people just want to draw artwork of like scenery. And that's cool, because everybody has their zone of genius, or their zone of interest, whatever that is. My zone of interest has always been to see what I saw in the books, in the encyclopedias when I used to put, when you had like the whole stack of
the whole
encyclopedias.
thing.
And I'm like, oh, that's weird. I flip it, I'm like, oh, there's some castles. And I'm watching the History Channel. I'm like, wow, this looks really cool. I'm watching the Learning Channel when it was not about aliens or whatever. It was cool too. So you learn these different places. And then I said, you know what? I want to go to these places. As a kid, that's what I wanted to do because I thought it was interesting that they exist. And I'm like, if people are going there, I want to go too.
Right.
When I seen James Bond driving around those I call it hairpin turns. Like you see like they're snaking around these mountains. I'm like, where the heck is he at? And like, that is so cool. He just shows up. He has a car and he's driving. He's fancy and he got the girl. I want to be that guy. And lo and behold, like in 2019, me and my wife was driving down through by Monaco, in the south of France. It sounds fancier than it is. For them, to the people that live there, they just live there.
Right.
I'm driving around this thing. I'm driving a rental. It was cheap. It was maybe like $100 for like 4 days or something like that. And then I'm just driving around these hairpin turns to Monaco, which is like an hour away.
Wow.
So the idea is, do you want to do this or do you not?
That's
available.
And Linda, shout out to Linda too. She mentioned this. I don't know if she mentioned when she was on our podcast, but just a personal conversation that we have, and she kind of said it to other people as well. She called it intentional parenting and being more transparent when it comes to finance with her boys. She has 2 young boys and they're taking their first trip to, she'll remind them about the trip that is coming up. She's like, don't you want to go to Iceland? Don't you want to do these activities and these excursions? Well, we have to kind of scale back on this. And, she and kind of say in a nice way, you got food at home, that sort of thing. She's really transparent. And I'm not saying this is the way to do it. You have to find your own way, how you parent your kids or how you communicate that to the kids. But I think that was really cool how she found a balance where she kind of continuously remind them about the bigger goal that they have in this big trip that they have already planned. And it's something to be said too. It's like some level of transparency that you kind of have with your children. And like you mentioned about being vulnerable and communicating that to them is so they can understand that it's a bigger goal in mind of something that they both have to work towards to. Like if you have your kids have checkings or savings, whatever, and asking your mom and dad for money, like, don't you have money? Like how much money is in your account, taking accountability and going into something that they want to do as well. But I thought it was like perfect how she went about to do it because she paid for the trip last year, but she's reminding her boys like, hey, we can't always stop at Chick-fil-A after soccer practice. Let's eat at home or let's eat a snack that I put in your bag. Like I'm saving all this money for spending money for your trip that is coming up, right? So I mean, it's just one of those things you have to kind of involve your children into the matter and involve them as well if they want to save their money for the trip too, because Europe is not cheap for more than 2 people, especially when it comes to children. So I thought that is pretty neat because when I was younger, the only thing I used to hear if I asked my mom for money, she ain't got it, but it was never a reason behind that as well. So the transparency with that, there was a disconnect because when I asked her for money, she'll say yeah or no, but when it's always no, it's because I have this and that, or she don't say anything at all.
When it's no, it's always very finite. And when you say no to yourself, then you can never think about other ways to actually do it. So when Tammy was talking about it, and I think a lot of parents might be concerned about, let's say, less travel and so on and so forth. Like, it doesn't have to be instantaneous. It doesn't have to be this year. It could be less travel and it could be 2 years from now. It could be 3 years from now. There's a time I wanted to go see Europe. I didn't go to see Europe instantaneously. It took me a good 3 or 4 years to get to the point where I knew this dream was coming, right? I knew the opportunity was going to show up. It just was going to take some time. And I think if we're not building in that aspect that you don't have to travel every day, every weekend, like you see on IG, and there's other people always traveling, that's not what you need to do. You need to focus on the goal and focus also on the idea that it doesn't always have to be no today. It doesn't have to be no forever. It could just be a day in which you're going to get to travel with your family. And I think part of it is imagining that, right? Allowing yourself to dream about that, allowing yourself to think about it, and then your brain does the work. Your brain is constructed to solve a problem. The problem is you. You're like, I explained that to everybody before. Your soul is almost like a different entity from your actual body. Your body does stuff while you're asleep, right? It literally just keeps you functioning and alive while you're asleep. Your brain does the same thing too, because it manages your body. Then your soul comes in and just tells it, hey, I kind of want stuff. That's what your soul does. If you tell your brain you want stuff, your brain stays up at night thinking about ways to get there. But if you tell your brain, nah, it's not possible, then your brain's like, well, it's off my list of to-dos. Like, obviously, he or she doesn't want to do this, so I'm going to keep doing these other things that they really want to do. So this is why I asked the question, do you want to do it? Do you want to?
That's true.
Do you want
I believe in that. Change your mind first,
like,
and then everything else will follow.
People live in Atlanta and they're like, I've never been to the Coca-Cola. I think there's a Coca-Cola factory.
A museum thing where,
yeah, you could do that. They've never done it. I know kids, I live in the DMV, which is the District of Columbia, Maryland, and Virginia. And I'm in the Maryland side. I know kids in my neighborhood that's never been to DC to see the Capitol. Wow. And you know how many minutes that is from them on the train? On the train itself is like 30 minutes. And you know, for kids that age, it's free.
Wow.
So for us to tell ourselves that is in probability, we're right. Because if you tell yourself you're not, then you just get up and just go do that. And they don't have, and it's free. This is the wildest thing too. Getting on the train would be free for the kid. Getting inside the actual Capitol to see it, the tours are free. The museums are free in DC. So the fact that we say it's impossible, we're right, because we don't want to do it.
That is true.
Like any parent right now says, you know what, I don't have the money to do a lot in different cities. I'm like, yo, you fly to Portugal right now in Lisbon, the entire city itself is walkable. You don't have to drive. And you'll see all the sites you want. You could eat for as little or as much as you want in a day. And then you go back to the Airbnb and you just chill there. Why? The Airbnb got electricity, they got running water, they got internet, and they got TV. Your kids could be still fine. You could just go right back outside and see some sights. There's places like that exist. Like you could go to Paris, France, and not do anything for money, just fly in, stay at a local whatever, walk around and have a couple of days. Yeah. The question becomes, do you want to do it or not?
Exactly. You're right.
I can't wait in the future. Like when I do retire, one of those things I would definitely want to do is kind of, do group tours for families and kids, right? To different locations to show them how weirdly possible it is and how much we kind of took for granted these opportunities. Because because a lot of us didn't do it. A lot of Black people didn't really do this stuff around us in our communities. So we had no idea it's possible. But when I flew to Europe and I got on these trains, I'm like, so I get to Paris, I get on the train from Paris to London and I'm in a different country. Wow. That's a wild scenario. Right. It's 2 hours and I didn't have to do anything. Maybe it's a $20 train ride. Maybe. I think it might even be cheaper. And that's all you do. That's it. Cheaper than Greyhound and is a lot less time.
Amen.
And everybody's looking at you like you're the one that's odd that don't believe this is possible, but you can in these different places. And all you have to do is commit to the idea that maybe you want to see your life in a different way. What if, hey, maybe this year, maybe this decade, I don't get to travel, but maybe I work towards the moment where I travel with my grandkids.
That's true.
Let's solve a future problem then. If we can't solve it now, let's solve it in the future.
Thank you for listening to the Financial Griot podcast, powered by the Wealth Builders Collective.